This episode is brought to you by Activations. Head to activations.com/love to unlock a discount that's available only through our exclusive link. Hello, and welcome to Reimagining Love. I'm Dr. Alexandra Solomon. I have been studying relationships for over 20 years as a couples therapist, a professor, an award-winning author, and as a wife, mother, daughter, sister, and friend. Now, I'm inviting you into this space each week as I dig into some of the toughest and most fascinating relational dilemmas of our time. If you want to discover how to create vibrant and loving relationships in your own life, you have come to the right place. This is Reimagining Love. Hi there, and welcome back to Reimagining Love. On this show, we speak about relationships. But of course, one critical component of any relationship equation is you. And today's discussion revolves around how to embody your best self right now. Yourself with the most clarity, the most motivation, the most aliveness, the youest you to bring to your important relationships. And our guest is Mimi Bouchard, an entrepreneur, investor, podcaster, and thought leader in the self-improvement and wellness space. She's the founder and CEO of the popular Activations app. You're going to hear about Mimi's origin story that led her to create Activations and how she turned a personal development project into a successful app that has helped thousands of users similarly transform their lives. You'll learn how to embody the person that you want to be right now in order to build momentum to bring you closer to your goals, and how to bounce back to your ideal self when you slip away from that version of you, which is, of course, going to happen because we are human. And despite our hopes and our beliefs, we cannot be perfect. But we can show up with more confidence and clarity, having visualized the outcome we want by integrating a regular visualization practice, whether that's for a first date, an important meeting, a therapy session, or even your wedding day. So let's hear all about it from Mimi Bouchard. Mimi, welcome to Reimagining Love. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Good. Well, I've got lots to talk to you about, but I want to start by asking you the question that I ask all of the guests of the show. Are you ready for the Reimagining Love question?
I'm ready.
Okay. Mimi, how are you reimagining love in one of your important relationships these days?
I think this is actually a theme in all of my important relationships. The more that I work on myself, the more that I learn that the best way to love is just to let people be themselves and to not have too high of these certain expectations and not pigeonholing people into a certain box, just letting them be them and working on me and focusing on myself, right? So that's a big thing that I have honestly just been trying to do more and more over the years. And it's helped in my marriage. It has helped with my relationships with my family, just letting people be themselves and not trying to control, who they are.
Oh, it's such a big one, isn't it? It's such a big one. I think it can be, well, you tell me. I think that I find that especially with women who are A, ambitious, and B, pretty darn invested in like self-work and personal development, it can be a little hard for us to stay on our side of the street, and it's easy to slip into what we're doing, our view of the world, and can kind of like get a little creepy into, okay, it's so good for me, and then maybe this would also be really good for you. And so I hear that you are working on just noticing, allowing people to be who they are as they are.
Exactly. Yeah, it's tough, just like you say, as women that want to better themselves and work on themselves, that love personal development, and you see people in your life and you think that they should be doing something in a different way, it brings up that controlling tendency that so many of us have. But yeah, just letting it go and just letting people be themselves. It's been a big lesson and something that continues to improve the relationships in my life.
That's great. Yeah, I think there are a lot of folks in the Reimagining Love community who are on a very similar journey as you, really working on acceptance. And there's a relief in that, right? I know for me, part of what has helped me do more of the allowing is almost this reframe of like, thank goodness I'm not in charge of other people's journeys, because it is hard enough for me to be in charge of my own darn journey. So part of how I had to sell it to myself was about the relief that I get to have, that it's not abandonment. It is really truly like just a kind of relief that I don't have to think about what's best for everybody else. I can, stay in my lane.
Yeah, and I think in a way, it is kind of how we show our love. We want the people that we love to be the best version of themselves. But you're exactly right that us holding on to that weight is just unnecessary, unrealistic, and it actually puts a wedge between you and the person you love.
Absolutely. Because what feels like it's conveying love is actually conveying judgment, right? It's
Yeah.
conveying judgment. And so what it sets the other person up to do is defend, explain, rationalize, and or pull away. So it ends up having the opposite, right? Even if our intent is loving, the impact is it creates a rift.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Great. Oh, great. Okay. Well, I'm here cheering for you, and I'm right alongside you on that journey, which is lifelong for sure. Thank you for talking to us about that. Okay, so you are I want to hear more about the origin story of your interest in personal development. So what I know to be true in your story is that you went from having $10 in your bank account not so long ago to being worth many, many, many millions of dollars. You are a massive success story in that way. And more importantly, you've done this through a journey of personal development and self-development. So talk to us a little bit about your story, what the last 10 years have been for you.
Yes, and thank you. The financial part of my transformation is really just one of 5 pillars in my book, Activate Your Future Self, that I released earlier this year. I talk about how there are 5 pillars to every single one of our lives. You have your financial pillar, you have your mental pillar, your physical pillar, social pillar, and spiritual pillar. So when it comes to my transformation that I experienced about a decade ago now, almost actually 11 years ago now, really was the beginning, every single pillar of my life was lacking. I didn't feel good in any pillar. And, the financial one you mentioned was definitely significant, living paycheck to paycheck and, struggling, trying to become an entrepreneur and working many jobs I didn't enjoy and kind of just putting myself out there and being in the trenches of that was definitely difficult. But so was my mental health at the time. I had no confidence. I had never been in a real relationship romantically. And I, thought there was something wrong with me, to be honest with you. And I didn't like how I felt in my body. I didn't like how I felt living in, the version of myself that I was at the time. I didn't feel like I was authentically being the Mimi that I knew I truly was. And I definitely was not tapping into my ultimate potential at this time in my life. So that kind of led me to, the work of personal development. This is before self-help. Personal development was cool, 11 years ago. It's still pretty lame. All the books about it just looked lame. Like there wasn't, now it's pretty cool to work on yourself, right? So back in the day, I couldn't find that many resources, honestly, that I needed to find there. But I did, and I read all the books I could, and I found all of the, grainy videos of Tony Robbins seminars on YouTube. And I just basically started eating up this content because I realized that I wasn't enjoying my life and I wasn't happy with where I was. So that was really the beginning. I found personal development at a time where I had hit my rock bottom. And, as you zoom out and look at my journey over the past decade, it's really crazy because I was doing all the things that everyone, all the books, all the mentors, all the people, I was doing all the things that they were telling people to do, in the first 2, 3 years of my journey. I was waking up at 5 a.m. I was doing the long morning routine. I was, doing the journaling, the vision boards, all the things. And I felt a little bit better, but I wasn't actually noticing a big, quick shift in my life. And I don't know about you, but I like things happening quickly. I like taking the shortcut. I want, that instant gratification of getting something that I put my mind and my effort and action into, but I just wasn't seeing that come to fruition as quickly as I wanted. And then long story short, I kind of developed my own new type of visualization audio that I just started kind of making by myself on my garage band on my computer in my 200 square foot studio apartment at the time. And
Stay there for just a moment, because I think this is really clever. So you started to speak into your phone, and you would create for yourself little messages that were visualizations for you about you in your journey.
yeah,
That was version 1.0, was just Mimi making audios for Mimi.
kind of, yeah. I had tried meditating and I just didn't understand how that would help me with the goals that I had. I knew meditation was good for calming your nervous system, for, clearing your head. But I was in this phase of my life where I wanted radical transformation, and I didn't feel like sitting with my eyes closed thinking about nothing would help me get there. So meditation became one of those things that would just sit on my to-do list and never get done and frustrate me, to be honest. But I knew that visualization was incredibly powerful because I was learning about neuroscience at the time, reading a lot of books about self-image psychology, about how visualization will literally train your brain to be different, to think differently, to train you and your self-image to be a new self, right? So I knew that. I just didn't know how to actually put it into practice. So intuitively one day I took out my voice memo app on my phone and I started recording a visualization just explaining what my future looks like. And it wasn't even hyper detailed. It was more about how it made me feel, because visualization is more about feeling in your body than thinking with your mind. So it was very general in a sense that there were affirmations weaved in, general visualizations, how it would feel to be my future self, and just this positive motivational self talk. And I listened to these, and at first I thought to myself, okay, it needs something more, because I wanted, the intention with these audios was to kind of amp me up, right? So then I added it to the garage band, and I would layer in this cinematic music from YouTube, and I spent hours doing this as a hobby because I created dozens of them. Anyway, so I kind of just secretly did this for years. And if you look at it like the past 10 years of my life, if you think about it like a graph, the first 2, 3 years, and I was just kind of doing everything that everyone was telling me to in the personal development space, it was very, very slow, incremental growth. And then it was like from the month I started listening to activations, it was this bell curve. My growth started to just skyrocket, and I started changing. The opportunities in my life started changing. I started seeing opportunity everywhere. I started becoming the version of myself that I wanted to be. I was magnetic, and that's kind of the beginning of my journey. So I listened to these as a secret for years. And then 5 years ago, I released an app called Activations that, has these for the public.
Well, I think it's, Mimi, you and I live in different worlds that are neighboring worlds. I've been in the world of therapy for a very, very, very long time. And in therapy, we are honoring the past. We are looking at and experiencing stuckness in the present. And part of therapy is like seeding future possibilities. But as I was listening to the Activations app and reading your book and, visualizing this conversation, I was thinking about two very specific ways in which visualization is. Like I just recently hosted a conference for couple therapists, and one of our speakers was Catherine Woodward Thomas, who's the author of the book Conscious Uncoupling. And she has a 5-step process that guides people through the experience of heartbreak. And in step one of the things that she has people do is visualize the future self. It is seeding the possibility of a brighter future. And she invites and challenges people who are in stage 1, like they are fresh in heartbreak. And it's not a bypass. It's not instead of the pain. It is just introducing little micro doses of forward momentum. It's so beautiful. And the other connection that I was making is that when I start therapy especially with a new couple, in session 1, I ask them a question that lots and lots of couple therapists ask, which is paint me a picture of what our final session looks like. What's happening? If I'm a fly on the wall in your home and I'm watching you all, when our work is done, talk to me about what each of you is thinking and feeling, how you're relating. And I'm writing down those words, it's ease, it's friendship, it's, whatever that vision is that they have. And so right there, as the therapist, I know I'm going to need to be understanding their past. I know I'm going to need to be unpacking the current dances and stuckness that they're in now, but I know that I can't be helpful to them until and unless I have a sense of what's our North Star? Where are we heading? What's our target? So I think there's something really, really powerful in what you are doing with, activation is about that forward momentum that is a part of it. It's not, it can't be all of it because there is a need. Tend to the past, look at the present. But you're here saying like, hey, you guys, we also have to be talking about this future you, the future self.
I just love how you do that in your sessions. I can see how that must be so successful with your patients because honestly, that is step 1 to changing any aspect of your life, whether it's your relationship, your bank account, your career, your relationship to yourself, your health, whatever it is. Step 1 is clarity. And I talk about this in my book as well. The whole first third of my book is all about clarity because to get to where you want to be, the first step is actually knowing where that is. Because then if you don't have clarity, you're just going to be traveling aimlessly, trying to figure out on the way. No, you need to know what the end result is that you desire because then step 2 is becoming the version of you that has it, right? So what I guess the question as well, because I've done couples therapy with my husband as, over the years, once in a while, it usually only happens when we have like an issue we need to fix. And we're like, okay, we're going to go see Bill.
Bill,
but,
help us figure this one out.
Yeah. I'm like, then it's time to see Bill. He's like, damn it.
Right. What if I say I'm sorry? Can we cancel Bill if I tell you I'm sorry?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'll be on my best behavior this week. But no, we do it maybe once a year or like whatever. But I would love to do it more regularly. I just think it's such a powerful thing to do. But yeah, that's such a great visualization is where are we in our last session, right? Because it's like, then you can figure out what the road is. If you know what point A is where you are today and you know where point Z is where you want to be, the road kind of creates itself.
So you moved from audios that are on your phone, layered in with GarageBand, to creating an entire app. So talk to us about what is your intention of how people are using the Activations app, which, by the way, you have been very nice to offer Reimagining Love listeners a discount code. And so listeners can go to activations.com/love for that and for a 14-day trial. But talk to us about like where does somebody start with the idea of working with visualization and the Activations app?
Yeah. So really activation simplifies the entire experience. And again, I mentioned earlier, I'm one that likes a shortcut. I am a habit stacker. I am chronically always doing something, which, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm a busy person, and I've always liked healthy habits that I can habit stack because it just makes it a lot more realistic for me to stick to be honest with you. I've been through the phase of trying to have this long laundry list of to-dos for the day in my wellness or personal development routine. And it just gets difficult, especially when you're busy. So it's funny because a lot of our users with activations, they're busy moms or working women because those are the types of people that just want to listen to something on the go. So how it works is so it's not meditation. It's a new type of audio that I developed called activation. And essentially, this is visualization focused, motivational audio that is mixed with cinematic music, very motivational, inspiring music. We actually use some of the top composers and audio engineers that create music for movies and TV shows. So it really makes you feel like you're this main character in your own life. And essentially, you listen to this mix of motivational guidance, visualization, and paired with very inspiring music together while you are doing everyday activities, right? While you're out living your life, you do not need to close your eyes and carve out 20 minutes out of your morning to listen to this. You listen to activations in your everyday life. You can listen while you're walking the dog. You can
That's
listen
what I
while you're
do.
making.
That's what I've been doing, listening while walking the dog.
Okay, the walking activations are literally my favorite category in the entire app. There's something about moving while listening to something like this that just amps you up and makes you feel so alive. So the way that this works and why it's so effective, because by the way, the main way that we've grown since I launched this 5 years ago has been word of mouth. Like I've barely done any marketing for this. Like just this year, we've started to do a little bit of paid marketing and testing things out. But really, we've gotten to over 100,000 people having used activations by mainly word of mouth because people are feeling very different very quickly. And the reason that people feel very different very quickly is because listening to activations, it's kind of like a modern take on the Pavlov's dog theory. You know, everyone knows that theory. Pavlov rings the bell, the dog salivates, classical conditioning, pairing new thoughts and beliefs with, an external stimuli. So essentially, you are taking advantage of classical conditioning when you are listening to a visualization audio like an activation while you are pairing it with something like walking the dog for 10 minutes every morning. If you do that consistently soon enough, you don't even need the activation to feel confident, magnetic, alive. And then if you keep doing this, pairing it with these everyday moments, soon enough, you're going to start really changing because transformation happens in those small moments. It's not one of those things that you put on your calendar for 3 months from now. That's the day I'm going to transform. No, it happens in those tiny little micro moments in your day. And that's why we've seen activations to be so effective because it really, takes advantage of that. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. And we have a lot of incredible users that send in their stories and how it's changed their life every day, big and small. Some people transform every aspect of their life like I did back in the day, but then other people just listen to activations throughout their week just to feel a little bit more alive. We live in a day and age where we're so numb all the time and we're victims to being numb because society, everything around us is like distraction, numb, mindless scrolling on social media is so addictive, binge watching Netflix every day. Like, so many of us do these things to just numb us out. And it's just, we're used to being distracted all day long, right? So the opposite of numbness is aliveness. And that aliveness feeling really slows down time, makes us feel connected. It makes us feel like our best selves. And maybe we've experienced that by listening to one of our favorite songs while, on a train going somewhere, kind of looking out the window, pondering life, that feeling of like juicy aliveness of being in your body. Maybe it's a deep conversation with someone you love. Maybe it's journaling outside on your balcony early on a Sunday morning. That's the feeling that I personally want to feel as much as possible in my life. I think that, stems to the core of why I created what I created.
I really like this last part that you're saying about like that juicy aliveness. It doesn't need to be some grand, dramatic 180 of what you're going to burn your life down and build something different. It might just be, I want to be more here. I want to feel more present in this version of my life, this moment of my life. Mm-hmm,
And I want to
mm-hmm.
be her now because of course, I talk about future self a lot. My book is called Activate Your Future Self. We have a lot of future self visualizations and activations. I talk about the future self a lot. But what I want to make clear is that this notion of your future self, it's synonymous with your best self. You can be your future self right now in this moment. It's not something that you wait for to finally become one day. All of this work that I teach is all about being her now, being your future self right now. Okay. And that is the trick to get to where you want to be. All of this work that I teach is to get to where you want to be. You must first become the version of you that has it. not wait until you get that raise or you get that promotion or you get that relationship. Like, be that happy, magnetic, fulfilled version of you now. And in a way, that's actually going to get you there faster.
I think it's really important because there are so many sneaky ways that we say, okay, once I lose 5 pounds, okay, once I have this amount in the bank account, once I have this. So we end up sort of tying our worth. We can say, I'm only worthy when this thing happens. And it's a way, it ends up being, it's so incredibly self-critical. And it is saying that we, have, it's another way we tell ourselves that we have to earn something that is actually available to us and that we are authorized to, like, right here, right now, today, as we are. And what you're saying is there's this, like, sneaky little thing you want to whisper of, like, okay, also, if you accept yourself and celebrate yourself right now, those other things will happen, but they will happen from a place of bounty rather than a place of, like, hustling to be the person who's worthy of the good thing.
Yeah. And we can't expect to get our spark back by adopting this I'll be happy when mentality. It's like we can't hate ourselves to a life we love. And that's something that I need to remind myself of constantly. And everyone really seems to align when I mention that, because we are all addicted to that I'll be happy when mentality, telling ourselves that we don't deserve to feel that happiness until we reach that milestone. But all that does is that puts off the time that we actually feel alive. And we just live in this perpetual state of, like, rushing. But where are we rushing to? The end? No, life is about enjoying how we are feeling now. And yes, working on ourselves. I definitely believe that as human beings, we're goal seeking creatures. And I don't necessarily agree with, the monks out there that just say the goal is to be present 100% of the time and nothing else. Like, I actually think it feels good to work towards something, but I also think it's important to be very present and in that aliveness. So it's the balance we need to find, and just enjoying ourselves as we are on that journey to get there. And there's a way to do that. And that's why I like this work so much, because it kind of just, it makes achievement way more enjoyable, or the journey to achieving something.
Right.
It's like
Right.
you're already feeling good. So, and you're already naturally wanting to do the things that your future self is doing, because you're training your brain to be here now when you're listening to things like activations, or even just journaling in the morning and putting yourself first in these small ways reminds you to be her now. Anything that reminds you to be that version of yourself you want to be now is what you need to hold on to and pencil into your calendar and remind yourself to do every day.
Beautiful. Talk to us about how the bounce back rate fits in with what you're saying.
Yeah. So years ago, I coined this term called the bounce back rate. I talk about it in my book, but essentially it means that, well, it all comes down to how perfection is not the goalpost whatsoever. Coming from a recovering perfectionist, I'm sure a lot of listeners can resonate. As high achieving women, a lot of us can be perfectionists, and we feel bad about ourselves when we don't, achieve this perfection ideal, right? But years ago, I realized that perfection actually isn't the goalpost. Why is that the goalpost for all of us? Our goal should be a quick bounce back rate, the rate at which you bounce back to feeling like your best self again after having fallen off track, right? So it's not about whether or not you're perfect, because that's actually a really silly goal. It doesn't exist. Not one human being on earth has ever even had one perfect day, let alone a perfect life. Not the most, beautiful model that's rich on the front of a glossy magazine. Like, no one human in the world has ever had one perfect day where they wake up perfectly on time. They have no negative thoughts all day. They don't procrastinate. They don't have one negative thought about themselves. They eat organic all day. The intermittent fast. No,
Right.
not one human has had one perfect day. So why is that all of this our universal measure of whether or not we are successful? It shouldn't be, because it doesn't exist. But I can tell you what all these quote successful, happy people do that, perhaps the others do not do, is having a quick bounce back rate. Once you realize you fell off track, whether it's any goal that you have, or it's just a mental state, whether you feel like, crap about yourself when you're trying to work on your confidence. Like, it's all about the time it takes for you to get back on track. So you should not measure perfection. You should measure your bounce back rate. How quickly can you get back on track after having fallen off the bandwagon?
there's something so self-compassionate about that, because if I'm looking at the bounce back rate, then my focus is on me noticing that I've slipped away from something that I have said is important to me and me returning to it. So it's less, the focus is not on shame that I slipped away from something. It is on the pride I get to feel because I noticed I slipped away from it and I figured out my path back to it.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
hard because us humans, we have a penchant for a clean slate. We love a Monday. We love a Monday that hits the first of the month. We love a New Year's. We love I remember there was a January 1st that was a Monday that one year, and I just was so ready. And then guess what? 3 weeks later, I fell off my health goals or whatever it was. And then I used to have years ago the mentality of the perfectionistic kind of like, okay, we're starting on this day and then it's going to be perfect. And it's like this challenge, right? But really, that's not how you change your life. It's not the people that are constantly on diets aren't the ones that live in an effortlessly happy, healthy, or fit body, right? It's the people that just embody the self-image of the person that already has that and maintains it. So really all of this work comes down to self-image psychology. I read this book years ago that really changed my life. Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. It was written in the 50s. It's kind of a hard read, but it's a really important one. And it talks about how your self-image literally creates the life that you get to live, right? It influences everything. So how you see yourself, what you have at the end of the sentence, I am the kind of person that ... How do you describe yourself? That is going to be your reality, right? So with this work of visualization, with activations, with committing to changing a certain aspect of your life that you want to change, it's really, this is the first step is, okay, acknowledging what is my self-image now and what do I want it to be and how do I embody that now? Because then you get into this kind of like middle area once you start doing the work where you realize, wait a minute, I can actually choose this other belief when you're in the middle of a crossroads where you could either, go back to the old thoughts you've had for a while or you choose a new road. You get to this crossroads sometimes. And when you're in the middle of change, you realize you actually have a decision. And then when you take the new road, it starts to reprogram your mind. And the more you do that, the more you actually change.
I was listening to one this morning that was called Reframe a Challenge in Your Life Quickly. And it was, I think it's everything that you just said. It was a really nice blend of self-compassion, like validating the feeling of stuckness while also inviting this other possibility. Like, this is not where you're going to be forever. You are here right now, but you're not here forever. But what I think is really cool is that there are some like that are a bit kind of more broad or problem focused, but you also have a whole series called the Bridal series. And there's one that is literally a 4-minute activation to listen to before you walk in and try on your wedding dresses. And I was like, oh, hell yes. That's wonderful, because that experience can be, it's so intense, right? There's the feelings that you're in, your entire history with your body comes in with you in that moment. You've got probably, hopefully, a whole crew of ladies who are, weighing in with their opinions. There's a lot of energy around there. So I love this idea of the bride sitting there by herself with her headphones in, getting herself where she needs to be before that experience. And I know that you are a recently married woman and that you had some elements of your wedding that you found to be meaningful and unconventional and aligned with the work that you are doing. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, for sure. And before I do, I love that you noticed that we actually release like every quarter of the year. So around 4 times a year, we release a like specialized series in the app. So we had the bridal series go out last quarter. This quarter, we just this week had the entrepreneurship series go out. And this is a collection of, 7 to 12 activations that are hyper curated in this one category or topic. So the bridal series, we had activations like visualize your ideal wedding day, how you feel on the day. I actually listened to that the morning of my wedding, the one that you mentioned about trying on dresses, like anchoring stepping into this new wife energy. And, we have so many in that department. So a lot of our, newer brides really loved having that. So, yeah. And then the entrepreneurship series we just launched this week. We have a lot of, women that have side hustles or, career focused women and that use the app. So that one's a big one that has been super popular this week. But to answer your question, yes, I live and breathe this work. I want it to feel magnetic on my wedding day. I wanted to feel like my best self, the best version of me. So I thought to myself, okay, how can I do that? I got to do what I know makes me feel good, not wait around to feel good, but actually do the things that I know will make me feel good. And what was that? It was waking up early. It was spending time, technology free, focusing on myself, having my coffee and journaling a little bit. Yes, last minute writing my vows.
There was that.
And yeah, it was a beautiful day. And I truly felt like the best Mimi that there is because I had the tools in my back pocket, And I actually, the morning of, so long, I guess, backstory. I mentioned we use a lot of top composers to create cinematic music for the app. So one of our top composers, his name's Judah Earl. He lives in LA. He does a ton of top movies and TV shows. I tell him that he's the next Hans Zimmer. He's so talented at provoking emotion through music. And all of the music we use for the 700 plus activations we have in the app, they're all designed to make you feel like you are in process of a transformation, like you are your future self already, like you are this magnetic, alive, positive, confident version of yourself. So he does a lot of the music for us since his music is just so powerful at doing just that. And I actually asked him if he could custom compose with me as like a collaborator, the song that I walked down the aisle to. And he did. And we actually put it in a ton of the bridal activations that we have on the app. It's the most beautiful song. It's not your traditional walking down the aisle song. It is a beautiful composition. And so the morning of the wedding, I actually put that in my ear and walked down the aisle, like, while they were setting up and putting the flowers up because we stayed on the property the night before. And it was so surreal. Like I get the goosebumps every time I listen. So, that was really special. And I actually flew him in from LA to England where I got married to, do it in person, which was really special. Yeah, my life is very integrated into this work. I know the power of it and it's changed my life. And I feel happy every day and just alive doing this work, listening, not even just to activations, but like just to music that makes you feel there's something about listening to audio that makes you feel like everyone listening right now, you're a podcast listener. I'm a podcast listener. I love listening to podcasts when I'm in the mood to learn from people or be entertained. I love to listen to certain music. Yesterday, at the end of my workout, I just put music on and had a dance party, like just that kind of stuff. I love listening to a walking activation when I feel like I want to really soak up that motivated feeling of aliveness and clarity. I like to listen to audiobooks sometimes when I'm wanting something less stimulating, right? So there's something about audio that really helps us. It kind of just supports us in any area of our lives that I really love.
Absolutely. Yes. Audio, to your point about podcasts as well. And then music. I was thinking about, I've been a teacher and a presenter and speaker for, I don't know, 30 years. And I nearly always listen to a song before I take the stage or, go in front of a room full of people. And I mentioned the couple therapy conference that I had hosted last week. It was nearly 2,000 therapists from around the world. And was online, which makes it a little harder to kind of get into that energy that I want to have when I'm like holding that kind of a space. But before the conference started, both of the days, I put a song in my ears and danced. It was nice. I got to be in my house. I got to dance, throughout my entire house. But that was that pairing for me of movement and audio that is evocative, right? It brings me into that space that I want to inhabit for myself and for the people that I'm teaching. It's so radically different than just kind of hustling frantically into a space. And so whether that's your wedding day or before you're teaching or just any day that we get to have that, we get to take that moment even before a difficult conversation, I've done that as well. How do I want to feel in this conversation, and taking some time to set myself and bring that version of me forward for a conversation that matters.
Yes. Yes. Even just visualizing it. If anyone listening, if you are in the parking lot in your car waiting for that big meeting with your boss where you want to ask for the raise, or you're going to a big appointment, or whatever it is, how can you just take 1 minute before walking in there to compose yourself and just visualize the best case scenario in your mind, right? Because when you do that, you walk into that meeting with your boss as a confident person with high self-worth that knows their value. So perhaps just that 1 minute of visualization would actually help you get that 20% more, because you give off a certain energy. It's not woo woo, it's actual. Like you give off a certain aura about yourself, where this is what I deserve, and you speak in a different way, and you hold yourself in a different manner. And it's just those micro moments that genuinely end up changing your life, just like the compound effect, right? Little changes every day really puts you in a completely different trajectory. We actually have an activation in the app for like before a big meeting or before a first date. We have so many niche, activations.
Oh yeah. It's so fun is that your app is alive and it gets to grow and become more specialized. And yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. What I know for sure is that I feel very on purpose. I feel that this idea came so organically because it was a need that I had. And I didn't really think that it would become what it has become 5 years ago when I launched the first version of this app. And as I mentioned to you, like the main way that we've grown is people trying it, feeling so different, telling their friend about it, their mom about it, their sister about it, and then becoming obsessed with it. So, I think about 35% of our users use it every day. It's very engaged, the app. So this is something it seems that people have felt that they've wanted, and they didn't know how to find it or where to find it because it's been missing. And there's a certain kind of type of person I think that this really fits for. So yeah, I feel very on purpose knowing that I've been able to create some of the best audios in visualization for this specific thing to transform you into your future self. And I feel really good about it.
Oh, that's great. Well, Mimi, it has been really such a pleasure to get to know you and have this conversation with you. So thank you for, giving us a window into yourself, your journey, and also just into the power of visualization and loving our current selves, embracing our future selves, becoming our future selves. I think there's lots of really great takeaways for our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Mimi, for that inspiring conversation. I love the idea that we can become our best selves right now. And to help keep up that momentum, we can use a tool that is so easy to integrate into our lives and where a little bit goes a long way. A daily dose of motivation that I can take with me on my walks. I'm totally here for it. So head to activations.com/love for your discount that's only available through our exclusive link. And you'll find that link and links to learn more about Mimi Bouchard in our show notes. And by the way, next week we have a solo episode called I Think I've Outgrown My Relationship, where we're going to unpack what outgrowing a relationship can mean. See you there. And until next time, be well. Do you have a relationship question that you want answered on the show? Visit reimagininglove.com to send in a written or audio question. Questions can be about intimate partnerships, family relationships, friendships, you name it. If you're looking for more love and relationship content, you can find me on Instagram at dr.alexandra.solomon or visit my website, dralexandrasolomon.com, where you'll find my blog as well as the Intimate Relationships 101 e-course based off of the popular class I teach at Northwestern University. Thank you for listening and see you next week here on Reimagining Love.